On a chilly autumn morning in the heart of a small western town, the local police precinct bustled with an unusual mix of tension and expectation. The brick walls of the station, steeped in decades of tradition and hardened by the passage of time, now resonated with whispers of change. Officer James "Jim" Daniels, a man known for his liberal views and heartfelt commitment to community engagement, found himself questioning the very methods that had long defined his career. His progressive ideas, once celebrated, had begun to clash with the strict realities and storied traditions of law enforcement in this tight-knit town. That morning, as the early light filtered through frosted windows, Jim prepared for his shift with a heavy heart. He recalled the heated debates from previous days, when colleagues argued over modern policing techniques versus old-school discipline. In his mind, there was always a conflict. How could one maintain empathy and progressive ideals while enforcing the uncompromising demands of public safety? His internal struggle was palpable, a silent battle between idealism and practicality. Just as Jim was about to step out into the crisp morning air, the heavy wooden doors of the precinct swung open with a resonant thud. In walked Clint Eastwood, not as a mere celebrity, but as a man whose life story and rugged experience had become the stuff of legend. With his iconic hat pulled low, a worn leather jacket draped over broad shoulders, and eyes that had seen more than most could imagine, Clint carried himself with an air of quiet authority. His arrival was both unexpected and momentous. A murmur spread through the precinct as officers paused, their conversation coming to a sudden hush. The sergeant barked an inquiry, "Eastwood, what brings you to our humble station?" Without missing a beat, Clint's deep, measured voice answered, "I'm here to share a few lessons about duty and wisdom, lessons I've learned the hard way, on the front lines of life." His words carried the weight of experience, and even the most skeptical among the officers could sense that this was no ordinary visit. Jim, who had been watching from a corner, felt a stirring of hope mixed with apprehension. He had admired Clint's roles in films where justice prevailed, but now he was witnessing a real-life icon impart wisdom on the gritty realities of policing. As the day unfolded, Clint made his way directly to Jim, his eyes locking with the young officers as if to say, "I know your struggles." "Officer Daniels," Clint began, his tone calm yet unwavering, "I've heard your ideas about modernizing policing and building community trust. Those are noble goals. But let me tell you something, when you're out there on the streets, facing raw danger and unpredictable human behavior, you need more than just good intentions. You need decisiveness and a backbone forged in experience. Like, comment and subscribe." The precinct's common room became their makeshift classroom. Clint led Jim to a quiet corner away from the buzzing radio chatter and flickering overhead lights. They settled into worn chairs by a dusty window, where Clint began to recount stories from his storied past, a past filled with close calls, split-second decisions, and the harsh lessons of living by one's own code of honor. "Back in my day," Clint recalled, "there was no room for hesitation. Every second counted, and the choices you made often meant the difference between life and death. I learned early on that compassion must be balanced with resolve." His voice was low and deliberate as he recounted a particular incident from his early years, a confrontation on a deserted highway where his calm decisiveness saved lives. As he spoke, Jim listened intently, absorbing every word as if it were a lifeline to a more balanced future. Jim's eyes narrowed slightly, reflective of the internal conflict he'd long wrestled with. "Sir, I've always believed that building trust with the community means showing them that we care, treating every citizen with dignity. But sometimes, I wonder if that idealism might cloud my judgment in the heat of the moment." Clint's gaze softened as he leaned forward. "Trust is indeed important, Jim. But trust isn't built on gentle words alone, it's earned by standing firm when it matters most. When you're on the line, you can't afford to second-guess yourself. You act with conviction, even if it means making unpopular decisions. That's what keeps people safe. Like, comment and subscribe." Their conversation drifted from abstract philosophy to practical tactics. Clint took out a small notebook, its pages filled with sketches, diagrams, and notes from years past. He flipped it open to reveal detailed accounts of high-stakes situations. "Look here," he said, pointing to a page describing a tense standoff. In this case, I had to decide within seconds, one misstep, and chaos would have ensued. My training, my instinct, and yes, sometimes even a bit of grit, kept me focused. You must learn to trust your instincts, Jim, but always temper them with reason and experience. Jim nodded slowly, the reality of Clint's words settling in. The lessons were not theoretical musings, but hard-earned truths carved out on the rugged frontier of real-life conflict. As the conversation continued, other officers gathered around, drawn by the gravity of the moment. They, too, began to see that the old ways and the new ideals might not be as incompatible as they once believed. Later in the day, Clint joined Jim on a ride along. They cruised slowly through the town's dimly lit streets, past closed shops and flickering streetlights. The rhythmic hum of the patrol car provided a soothing counterpoint to Clint's reflective tone as he narrated his experiences. Every situation on the street is different, he explained. But there's one constant, the need to be ready, to be decisive. Compassion without action is just sentimentality, it won't stop a crime or defuse a volatile situation. Like, comment and subscribe. During the ride, a call came in about a disturbance at a local diner. Jim's pulse quickened, his mind racing through scenarios of how to approach the situation with both empathy and firmness. Clint's voice cut through his apprehension. Remember, Jim, act swiftly but do not rush blindly. Observe, assess, and then decide. It's a delicate dance, one that you'll master with time. As they arrived at the scene, Jim put Clint's advice to the test. With clear-headed determination, he approached the situation, diffusing tensions with a blend of respectful authority and careful negotiation. The success of his actions that night confirmed Clint's lessons, leaving Jim with a newfound confidence and a deeper understanding of his role as an officer. After the incident, back at the precinct, the atmosphere was noticeably different. The officers gathered in the briefing room, their voices low and thoughtful as they discussed the events of the evening. Jim, standing a little taller than before, recounted his experience with a clarity and maturity that earned approving nods from his peers. In a quiet moment, he caught Clint's eye and offered a nod of gratitude, a silent acknowledgement that the lessons imparted earlier had made all the difference. Like, comment and subscribe. In the days that followed, the precinct began to change. Officer Daniels, once seen as an outlier with his liberal ideas, now found himself embodying a balanced approach. His methods evolved to incorporate both his heartfelt desire for community trust and the steely resolve necessary to enforce the law. He started mentoring younger officers, sharing stories from his own experiences and the invaluable lessons he had learned from Clint Eastwood that fateful day. Clint's visits became a regular, if infrequent, occurrence. He would stop by the precinct to share a story or to offer a word of advice. Each visit served as a reminder that the path of duty was fraught with difficult choices, but also that every choice was an opportunity to grow into a better officer and a better human being. One rainy afternoon, when the sound of falling water echoed through the precinct's corridors, Jim sat with a group of officers in the break room. They discussed not only the challenges of their jobs, but also the wisdom of balancing empathy with decisiveness. Jim spoke passionately about the importance of learning from experience, and his words resonated deeply with everyone present. The precinct was evolving, a fusion of the best of both worlds, where compassion and conviction could coexist. As the months turned into years, the story of that transformative day became a cherished legend within the department. New recruits heard the tale of Clint Eastwood's unexpected lesson and how it had reshaped an entire precinct. Jim, now a respected veteran himself, would often be seen mentoring fresh faces, urging them to remember that the true measure of an officer was not just in the strength of their actions, but in the wisdom behind them. Like, comment and subscribe. In a quiet ceremony held at the precinct to honor outstanding service and innovation, Officer Daniels received recognition for his balanced approach to policing. Standing before his colleagues, he recounted the words of Clint Eastwood and how they had guided him through moments of doubt and crisis. His story inspired a renewed commitment among the officers, a pledge to honor the complexities of their duty while remaining true to their ideals. Clint Eastwood, watching from the back of the room with a subtle smile, knew that his message had taken root. He had come not to preach, but to impart a legacy of practical wisdom, to bridge the gap between two seemingly disparate worlds. His parting words, delivered with the quiet confidence that had defined his long career, echoed in the hearts of everyone present. Remember, true leadership is forged in the crucible of experience. Stand firm when it matters, but never forget that every day is a lesson in balancing duty and compassion. And so, the precinct carried forward that legacy, a legacy where every call, every decision, was made with both heart and resolve. The journey toward a more balanced approach to law enforcement had only just begun, but the lessons of that unforgettable day remained a guiding light for all. Like, comment, and subscribe. If this story of transformation, duty, and the enduring wisdom of experience has touched you, take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that remind us that even in the toughest of circumstances, there is always room to learn, grow, and find balance.